So hello guys, welcome to today's edition of JavaScript with TIT, and I'm your presenter Guru B. So in previous video we worked on a drop down menu that did the following. Let me see if I can open it in my browser. We did this, that once we click on any of these colors, let me select any of these colors, then it should take effect on the writing style. So today we're going to modify or do it in another form. Maybe you don't want it to be in that format, you just want it to have a separate buttons instead of choosing from a drop down list. So let's see how fast we can do it. And it's the same syntax and same understanding, but just in different structure. So quickly let's start. I've already saved this file called drop down 1. The previous one was drop down. This one is drop down 1, the HTML, and I save it in the same folder for TIT classes. So quickly we're going to declare our doctype as HTML. Okay, then also our HTML language. We're going to declare our HTML language as English. As always, to tell our web browser that we wrote this code in English. And then we're going to open our header section here. I love to open and just close it at once. So in this one, we're going to have our title of our page to be drop down. Okay, is this a drop down? Yeah, just drop down is okay. And then next we open our JavaScript session. So it's our script. No, booty, not here in the session. Let's open our script session. And in the script session is where we're going to write all of our JavaScript code. So the very first thing we want to do is to load the DOM or create an event listener that is going to take 2 arguments. So we say document the add event listener. Add event listener, and then event listener takes 2 arguments. The first argument it takes is first to load the DOM. Load the DOM content, and then the next thing should do is to create a function. So like I told you, we have 2 ways to create a function. You could say function in this way. You could also use the arrow. Okay, you could also use the arrow to express this as a function as well. So we're going to use this today. In previous video we used the other one, so today we're going to use this one so that you can get used to either of them. And then what we're going to say here is the first one is going to change the color. Maybe you take the first color as red, so change the text color to red, and this line is just a comment, so it's not going to implement anything. It's just for the programmer or whosoever that will read this code to understand that this section of this code is to change the color to red. So we say, how do we do that? We want to get our document. So document or query selector, that is to say, search throughout this document, and then after you search throughout this document, you find something. And what is that thing? We can create an ID of anything. So let's create an ID for red, since we are being specific to change the color of this text to red. So find this ID. That's what this line means. Document the query selector means search throughout this entire document, and then query or find this ID, this hash sign ID of red. And then after you find that, what should you do? There are functions in Python, in JavaScript. We have onClick, onSelect, onSubmit. So in previous one we did was onSelect, because you can select from a drop down, but this one is onClick because we have different buttons. So we say onClick. As you can even see here, we have onScroll, onLoad, and all of these things. So we're going to go with onClick. Okay, so once you click that, then everything that will happen should go into another function. So that should be equals to this function. And what the use of this function? This function is not going to say do something again. So it's function in function. So this function is going to say search throughout the entire document as well for an ID called hello. Okay, search for an ID called hello, and then if you find that ID called hello, we want you to change the style of that ID or whatever content this ID has. We want you to change the style, and the style has many things to do. In the style section, we can change the text, align that text in the center. We can change the color. We can change so many things in the style section. So specifically, we want to change the color aspect of the style. So change the color to red. Okay, change the color to red. This is what we want to do for that session. So this is just the first color, and then we can as well do the rest of the other colors. So quickly, let's create the next one. So as far as possible, this is just the first guy. We can just copy this guy. Let me see. Okay, let's just copy this guy and just change some stuff there. Okay, so this guy would now be for us changing the color. Change the color, text color to maybe blue. So we change this ID here called red. We create another ID called blue, and then we also change it from red here to blue. Okay, then next thing we might want to do here is so we open this one. Okay, we now want to do the same thing. Maybe for another color we can make it 3 different colors. So we say this one can be for maybe green also. Okay. So change the color here to green. So you can create as many buttons as you want. Create as many buttons as you want. So this first one, we open the curly brace here, and then we close this curly brace. We need another one to close it. So we open the curly brace here, but then we have to close it here. So we open also this curly brace here. We also have to close it. We also have to close this curly brace here. Okay. And then we open another curly brace here. We have to close it as well. So let's close one curly brace here. So this one should be closing this one. Okay, this one now is going to be for this guy. So if you take a look here, we open a parenthesis here first. So that means in the end here we have to close this parenthesis. Okay. So if I click here on this parenthesis, you see there's a line here corresponding to this parenthesis. On this curly brace, if I click here, it corresponds to, there's a little orange line showing here. So this, it shows that you have closed or whatever you are open. Also this one, if you see, it takes ether here. Like here, you cannot see it, but once I click here, it's going to tell you that this one is closing here. The same with this one. So we have to make sure we close all of these things, else it's going to read error or it's going to have a great effect on our code. So that's all for our JavaScript, and then we can add some star and stuff. So for our star session, in our start session, we stay in the head of this guy. We can say our body, we want to send all of our text in the center, and then we want to also the font size of our document, of order the font size should be maybe 60 pixel, and then our font family, that is the writing style or the font as we see it in Microsoft Word, should be this. Since we're going to create buttons for the various colors, we can say our buttons should have the following as well. We should put all of them in the center as well, and this font size should be maybe 40. Okay, and then the font family should be the same as this font family. So that's all for our star. So the star is more of like a CSS. Okay, so that's all for our star, and now we can just write our body. So in this body section now, we're gonna have one h1. This h1 will have an ID called hello, because we said in our program that find this ID called hello, and then once you find it, you should change it. So we have to create an ID called hello, and this ID is going to say TI Innovative Tech. Okay, and I'll have to say TIT here. We can now close our h1, and then now we create a button. We create our first button here, and this button is going to have an ID of give an ID of red. So in here we just put a color so that the user can see, and just say red here. So we're going to do that. Let me just not copy this guy, just do it quickly. Create a button here for blue, but then we create an ID for it. ID here will be blue. Okay, and then we create a last button here for green. Here's the last button here for green, and the ID here is going to be for green. Okay, so now we close our HTML. Alright, so let's see what happens. Let me just explain it to you quickly, and then we see what happens. So in our here we declare that this document is an HTML5 document, and this document is written in English. So in the head of this document, you can take it as your physical look. In the head, we have a title here called drop down, which is going to be at the top of the page in the web browser, called drop down. And then we add an event listener to say we want to load all of our content. There's a document object model will help us to load all of our content so that we can use every line of code, be it in front or beneath, because the code are being read or is being read in a sequential order. So in the first one, we're going to change the text color to red, and to do that we say search throughout this document for an ID called red, and once you click on it, it should be equal to whatever this function will do. And this function is saying that we should look throughout this document, find an ID called hello, and then change the star and the color to red. So basically, once you get our first concept, it applies to the next two. Find an ID called red, and that should be equal. Once you click on it, it should be equal to a function, and this function is saying that find this ID called hello and change the style, which is the color specifically, to blue. So in our script, we say everything in the body section, which is here, should go in the center, and the size of the writing should be 60, and the font or the style should be sans. And then the buttons, we're going to create all of these buttons. We want to put all of them in the center as well. We want to put the size of 40 and like this. So we're going to save it, and let me find the folder that I save it in, TIT class, and a drop down one. I'm going to open in my Chrome browser. Let's see what happens. Hope it works. Hope it works. Come on, buddy. We are waiting for you. Okay, so this is it. When I click on red, it changed the writing to red. I click on blue, change it to blue. Click on green, it changed it to green. So this is it, and that's all about it. In the other one, it was select. When we select this color like this, so maybe you don't want that. You want to have your buttons all in front of you. So this is it. We have created a WeChat group called TIT Network, and I've shared a QR code on other platforms. So if you are not in that group, you can let me know by commenting on this video, and then I'm going to add you to the group so that you can join the other family, because we have something coming up, something very big coming up for all of our supporters and all of our fans, all of our partners. We have something good coming up for you as a giveaway for your support to TIT and for making an impact. Keep safe. TIT loves you.